Hi, I'm Matthew Sturm. I'm a professor of geophysics at the University of Alaska, and today we're going to be talking about how to do a very quick pit that'll allow us to look at where the ice from the very exceptional rain on snow event is in the pack, how thick and strong it is, and therefore maybe how much effect it's going to have on the animals. And we're going to start first by where you would pick a site to make that pit, and then we're going to show you how to do it. So you need a site that hasn't been disturbed by animals too much, snowmobiles or other human activity, and it's preferable to be a level site with undisturbed snow. So if you look over here, we've got some nice light, pretty level site. We're not under a tree, so that's a good site. So the whole idea here is, without particularly technical means, find out how much ice we got in the snow from that very unusual Christmas period rain on snow event in deep snow. So we've dug a big pit. It's still a bit rough. We're going to clean it up a little bit, and then we're going to look at what we have, and we're going to use a very low-tech method to measure it. So the whole idea here is we're going to look for that ice lens and figure out how thick, how hard, and where it is in the pack. So we've dug a pretty decent pit, in this case facing the sun. And the next thing we're going to do, because it'll help us identify the ice lens and the stratigraphy and what might be affecting the wildlife, is we're going to clean up the pit. So I'm going to tool the pit a little bit with a little spatula. You can use a spatula, a trowel, almost anything. We're just going to try and clean it up a little bit, just so we can see things. And in doing that, you can even hear it. You can hear where our ice lens is. So there we've got a decent pit. And the next thing we're going to do is get set up so that we can record data. I tend to work in metric. It's okay if you work in inches. You put a ruler in front of the snow like that, and I've got a ruler, I can see it. We're going to be taking a video of this stuff, so something really useful is to make sure your videographer can see where you are. We're also going to put it on a data sheet. Date, who am I, and where am I? I drew a little sketch at the bottom because we're going to measure everything up from the bottom. One thing that really helps us out is to make sure you show up at your pit with some sort of brush. If you have soft snow, a soft brush, a hard brush. Because now what we're going to do, I'm going to gently brush. And notice I'm brushing not parallel yet to the stratigraphy. I'm just trying to brush out what's there. This is pretty soft snow except for the ice layer. And then I'm going to brush across. Before we actually get to recording the data, let's just take a quick look at what do we see in our pit. What we can see in the pit right here, that's some new snow we got after the big storms of Christmas. So that's pretty interesting. We see a very distinctive layer of spruce needles. Spruce needles are usually an indication wind blew that out of the trees. So there was some wind. Then we've got this snow. This is the culprit we're looking for. This is the ice layer. We're going to get back to it. And then we have the snow down below. One thing you can do very quickly, just to get yourself oriented, is to take your spatula or your little trowel, just run it down the pit, and you can't mistake where the ice layer was. Hear that? And then down further, okay? We want to record mainly where those hard layers are in the snow and how hard they are. And for that, the tools we need, most of the tools we need, we have ourselves, but we're going to need two other tools. There we go. Because we're going to do what's called a hardness test. A hardness test is done with your hand and two very simple objects, a knife and a pencil. What's a hardness test? Well, it's, can you push your fist, four fingers, one finger, pencil, or knife into a layer? It's that simple. Let's just do a little demo on the side of the pit. So that new fresh snow, we know it's really fluffy, we sink right through it. Can I push my fist into it? Not quite, actually. We'll do that again. I'm just pushing with a normal force. Nope, not quite. Can I do 4 fingers? Yep, just fine. So we'd call that layer a 4-finger layer. Really simple. We're not actually interested in the 4-finger layers. We're interested in the really hard ones, the pencil and knife ones. So let's go down the pit wall doing the hardness test. Right? We know in advance where we're going to hit the hard stuff, but let's try it. All right. Not quite fist, 4 fingers. Not quite 4 fingers, 1 finger, 1 finger, still 1 finger, 4 fingers. Whoop. Now here's that ice layer. That's what we're looking for. I can't quite get in there. Okay, can I do it with 1 finger? Nope, I can't do it with 1 finger. How about a pencil? Can I push a pencil into it? There are various ways. Sometimes people use the eraser, sometimes the point. Typically here we're going to use the eraser end of the pencil. Nope, I can't get a pencil into it, so it's not pencil hard. Let's try our last one. Can I get a knife into it? It's even pretty hard for my knife, but I can get a knife into it, but with some difficulty. So that layer is knife hard. Let's finish going down. I can do 4, 4, and a little bit harder stuff here from earlier in the winter. 1 finger, 1 finger. So the layer we're after is knife hard, and here it is. We've got a data sheet. Okay, on a data sheet, all we really need from you is where's that layer and how thick it is. Our ruler will tell us the top of the layer is right here at 41. The layer's kind of irregular, and we'll take a look at it in a moment. But it goes from 41 down to about 39 or 38, making it about 3 centimeters thick. So we have 1 icing layer, the height from the ground to the top. We're going to write 41. The thickness of the layer, we're going to write 3. You can actually measure it in a couple places. Some places it's as much as 4. And the penetration hardness of that layer, we're going to write K for knife. We would have known about that ice layer just fine just digging the pit. It was so obvious. And as we were digging the pit, big chunks of it were coming out. If you want, and it would be helpful, you can pick up a piece of it. This is it right here. It's shiny on the top, a little bit nubbly on the bottom. It consists of sort of little icy marble-like features with a very distinct ice layer on the top, and that's due to the rain on snow. You can see it's 3 to 4 centimeters thick, very shiny on the top, surprisingly tough. I can break it, but not without a lot of effort, and we were able to stand on top of it. Surprising things snow does, and we can see it right here, and you need to be aware of it. Here's our ice layer right here, but if you look very carefully, what happens in a storm like a rain on snow event is at times water will create an ice layer and then leak through it through what we will call a drain and percolate downward. And it'll make another ice layer and another ice layer. You can get multiple ice layers in a snowpack, all from the same event. And that was happening here a little bit. Here's the main ice layer that was knife hard. Here's the next ice layer. It came down through a drain, then it went a little bit diagonally. Here's the third. These are all from the same event. Water was leaking downward. We were able to track it all the way down to here, right here. So the ice went down as much as 15 centimeters. There's lots of stratigraphy here. All of it's interesting. A lot of it's interesting to wildlife, but we're only looking really for you to identify those layers that are unusually icy and are likely to really cause problems with the wildlife this year. So that's this big layer here. We don't really have much more in this pit that I'd have to worry about. It's interesting to us. The last thing is, if you are doing a pit and there is cratering or footprints from wildlife around, please record that on your notes. And we really thank you. This is a chance to really track whether this very unusual snow and rain on snow event is going to have a profound impact on the animals or whether they're going to weather it well. Thanks very much.